She's standing by the door, coat half on, and she asks you the question she always asks. How do I look? You already know your answer before she finishes the sentence. It's not really a question. It's a small transaction, and for one more day, you're still allowed to lie. Tomorrow, that changes. Imagine a single new rule. Dropped onto the entire species overnight, no human being can say anything they know to be false. Not to protect a feeling, not to close a sale, not to smooth over an awkward silence. The words simply won't come out. Everything else about the world stays the same. Only this one thing is gone. The first morning, it feels almost like a joke. You open your mouth to say I'm fine to the coworker who asks how your weekend was, and instead you hear yourself say, honestly, I'm a little anxious about a bill I haven't paid. She blinks. You blink. Neither of you knows what to do with that sentence, because it was never designed to be heard. It was designed to end the conversation politely, and now it's opened one you didn't want to have. By lunchtime, the small cracks are everywhere. The barista can't say no rush when there is, in fact, a rush. The friend who texts you looked great in that photo has to sit there, phone in hand, saying nothing instead, because the compliment isn't true and there's no version of it that is. Silence starts doing the work that lying used to do. People don't suddenly become truthful with each other, they just become quieter. This is the first thing the experiment reveals, and it's already uncomfortable. Most of what we call lying was never really deception in the criminal sense. Researchers who've spent time actually tracking how often people lie, famously the psychologist Bella DePaulo, who had participants keep daily diaries of every lie they told, found that the average person tells small lies constantly, and almost none of them are about money or crime or infidelity. They're about how a haircut looks, whether you liked the dinner, whether you're totally fine with a change of plans. Lying in its most common form isn't a weapon, it's a lubricant. So take the lubricant out and watch what starts to grind. By the end of week 1, dating has quietly become brutal. On a first date, you can no longer say I had a really nice time unless you actually did. You can't soften a rejection with it's not you, it's me, because it usually is you, and now you have to say so. Psychologist Robert Feldman, who studied conversations between strangers meeting for the first time, found that people lie early and often in those first few minutes, mostly small, flattering lies meant to make the interaction go smoothly and make both people feel likable. Take that away, and the first few minutes of meeting someone new stop being smooth. They become an audit. Institutions adapt faster than individuals, because institutions are built out of language, and language is exactly what just changed. Advertising collapses first. A company can no longer say a product will change your life unless it can prove that it will. Slogans shrink down to bare technical description. Political speeches get strange and short, because a politician can no longer promise an outcome they don't actually believe they can deliver, and it turns out an enormous amount of political language lived in that gap between belief and certainty. Some politicians go quiet for long stretches. Others discover they can still mislead through selective silence, through choosing which true thing to say and which to leave out. The rule banned lying. It never touched omission. This is where the experiment starts to bend into something nobody expected. A world that can't lie doesn't become a world of radical honesty. It becomes a world of radical editing. People learn almost instinctively to answer a different question than the one they were asked. How do I look? Becomes we should get going, traffic's bad. Nobody said anything false. Nobody said anything true. Either the lie didn't disappear, it just stopped needing words. Second-order effects start showing up in the places built on shared, comfortable fictions. Office life needs the fiction that everyone is roughly equally valued. Family gatherings need the fiction that old grievances are settled. Even simple courtesy, no, you go first, often isn't fully sincere, and that's fine, because its function was never sincerity. Its function was making two people feel considered. Strip out every small false kindness, and what's left isn't a purer form of kindness. For a lot of interactions, what's left is nothing. People start avoiding each other instead of risking a truthful answer they don't want to give or hear. Friendships that ran for years on, of course, no problem start needing real negotiation instead. And negotiation is exhausting, so some of them just quietly end. Here's the paradox at the center of it. We tend to assume that lying is what damages trust, and that a world without lying would be a world of deeper connection. But trust isn't built only on accuracy. It's built on the feeling that someone is managing the relationship with care, softening what needs softening, protecting what needs protecting. Dan Ariely's research on everyday dishonesty found something similar hiding in ordinary people. Most of us are willing to bend the truth in small ways, but only just enough to still see ourselves as fundamentally honest. That balance, a little bit of shading, wrapped around a core of real trustworthiness, is apparently how most human relationships are actually engineered to run. Remove the shading entirely, and the core doesn't get stronger. It gets exposed to whether it was never built to survive alone. By the end of the thought experiment, the world hasn't become more connected. It's become more precise and more alone. People say less, ask less, risk less, because every question now demands an answer you might not be ready to hear and they might not be ready to give. The species didn't get more honest with each other so much as it got more careful about what it was willing to ask. None of this means lying is good or that honesty is the villain here. It means the two were never simple opposites. Most daily lying isn't a failure of character, it's a form of social maintenance, a way of protecting someone else's feelings or your own standing, or simply the fragile mood of a Tuesday afternoon. The evidence on this is fairly consistent, even if researchers still argue about exactly where kindness ends and self-interest begins in any single lie. What's clear is that removing deception from human life wouldn't just remove its harms, it would remove one of the main tools people use to take care of each other. Which brings you back to the door. Coat half on. The question hanging in the air. In the real world, you still have a choice about what to say next, and maybe the point was never whether the coat looked good. Maybe it was that she asked you, and you were the one she wanted to hear it from. You open your mouth. You look great. And for once, it doesn't matter whether it's entirely true. It matters that you were paying attention.